Okay, hey everyone, Mystic Magic here. Kind of an unfortunate video, and the reason why I'm putting my tuber over here over Baldur's Gate. This is actually just the video that I uploaded for Baldur's Gate. So, I got copyright striked, which kind of sucks. And I think it's because maybe the cutscenes. I'm not sure, and also you can kind of hear a lot of the music. I was hoping that by me talking over it, it's obvious that it's a Let's Play, but I don't know. Maybe there aren't enough bouncing tubers or something like that. I really didn't want to block that side of the screen because if I put the tuber somewhere, it's gonna block something of the game. So it sucks. Anyways, so after I got that, I was like, oh shoot, now what? I could just leave it up. They didn't strike me. They just marked it as that, like a warning kind of thing. So that's why I'm thinking maybe I won't do the Let's Play of Baldur's Gate 3. Unfortunately, I might have to wait till maybe the game's a bit older or something like that. Because I did one time do it for Baldur's Gate 1 and I didn't have any problems with that, but the game is so old, so that could be it. That Let's Play is gone though, so it's no longer here. It was a really bad one anyways. And also, I have to admit, because I'm not familiar with this game and I'm not the best at this style of game, what is it, the D&D esque style kind of games. I'm not the best at these, so I feel like I'm gonna play through the game and just kind of and I haven't played through the game. Just play through the game like normal without the Let's Play, unfortunately. So yeah, there's not gonna be any videos for Baldur's Gate 3 because I'm probably gonna get striked again and again, until they're like, hey, take it down. Which is stupid because I've done like so many other Let's Plays, but I have to admit they are Let's Plays of games that are more obscure games. Baldur's Gate 3 is just a more major game. I can't say that's about it for this video. So that was it for the announcement. The rest I'm just gonna kind of talk about what kind of like a log of what I've done on Baldur's Gate 3. And also like I guess some feelings and thoughts about it. Yeah, so if you just want to hear the announcement, that's it. That's the end of that part. Now I'm gonna go on to like my thoughts. Just a small little background. I have played Baldur's Gate 1. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 2 because I never finished Baldur's Gate 1 and I just couldn't get into it. Like Baldur's Gate 1, it's not because it's the graphic there was a graphical remake of the game, which is nice. It's gorgeous. Like the sprite work on that game is gorgeous. Like visually, I don't mind as long as the graphics aren't like super fuzzy, I'm squinting without my glasses kind of level blurry. I'm good. I can play pretty much anything. Like if you all have seen my channel, I've done a whole let's play of Daggerfall Unity. That was fine. Like the graphics on that game are fine. It's fine. I can do that. But it wasn't the graphics. So for Baldur's Gate 1, it's actually because of the time restraints. It's very strict as far as like you need to finish this at a certain time. You can't just go wander and explore. It's not very forgiving, is what I'm trying to say. So like if you mess up, you kind of messed up. Like you did this, you messed up. You can't redo it. You couldn't persuade them. You messed up. That's it. Very little forgiveness. What I'm seeing in Baldur's Gate 3 in contrast is that the game is very forgiving. Like yeah, it's just very forgiving. I don't when playing it, I'm like, oh yeah, I can re-roll because I have what is it? Inspiration, and that's the inspiration rolls. They use their own version. Basically, they let you re-roll as opposed to adding a d6 to the roll. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, the game is a lot more forgiving. Like even if I made a really bad decision or something, like mild spoilers, I did actually do the hag thing, and I'm like, oh, that really sucks. But I didn't. Other than like, the negatives that gives you, and then the whole thing with the your appearance, um, it wasn't like that bad. I didn't feel like it was that jarring or like that. Oh shoot, I messed up. This is in contrast to me feeling the way I played in Witcher 3, where Witcher three's choices are very like you have to really either know your stuff or you need to actually like examine every little detail in the world before you figure out what you're actually like what the ideal situation is. And remember that this game does it without the dice rolls. For this game, because there's so many options, which is very impressive. They have to run that differently, that logic kind of differently. So I think they decided to make it more forgiving. It's definitely just a more forgiving game. So if you're gonna play this style game, I would say compared to like the other games, so Divinity and I forgot what the other one's called. It's like Pillars of Infinity and the other one Larian made. I can't remember what it's called right now. Oh, Divinity, yeah, Divinity, Original Sin, and I can't remember the other name. Yeah, it's not Pillars. Is it something? I can't remember right now. Critical Role did a collab with them or something. Like they have characters in there. Anyways, those two are the most modern of the D&D esque of this type of game. Again, I can't remember the genre of this game. But I would say Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the most accessible of them because these games can be very archaic and it has a very interesting history. Right, this background's going on for a while, but yeah, they have a really interesting history because it started as the dungeon crawler games, which is the Daggerfall esque kind of games where it's like first person dungeon, and then it evolved into what we would call like the Baldur's Gate games, which is this isometric. You have a whole party kind of thing helping you, and you can control them independently. And then that style of game, which by the way, that style of game is like this whole interconnected history of D&D as how it influenced the gaming sphere. And there are so many, I think every other Western, I hate using the term Western, non-Asian, non-Japanese, let's be real, non-Japanese video game has some sort of tie to Baldur's Gate or to D&D, like in some way. I'm pretty sure, like I'm like a good 90% of them, I swear, because this style of game eventually became. It was actually used for Fallout. Fallout 1 and 2 was originally going to use GURPS, which is the quote unquote competitor to D&D. It's like not the other D&D, but GURPS pulled away their license, so they had no choice but to come up with their own, which is the special system, which is what they use today. Dragon Age, actually, so the developers of Dragon Age were given the permission to use the engine that was used for Baldur's Gate to create their own. Well, not the engine, but like it was given permission because I think Wizards owned it or something like that. They were allowed to create their own game, which became Knights of the Old Republic. And then from there, they created Dragon Age, Dragon Age and Mass Effect, because they lost the license from LucasArts to do the Star Wars IP, and then they were like, "Hey, we still have ideas." They made Mass Effect, so that is kind of that interesting history. So a lot of these RPGs, American RPGs, really come from D&D, Baldur's Gate, and then of course we have the other big example that I like to bring up is. CD Projekt Red, the first Witcher game is actually using this engine as well. And I have played Witcher 1, and I actually really like Witcher 1. It's really, really cool. It's a very different take on at the time it's called the Sapphire engine. It was a very different take on it, which is really cool. Like, I really like their take on it. I didn't like Witcher 2, though, which is weird. But yeah, as far as this style of game, I have played Baldur's Gate 1 for like 12 hours. Didn't finish it. Knights of the Old Republic, which I love Knights of the Old Republic. Witcher 1, really like Witcher 1. Dragon Age Origins, I really enjoyed Dragon Age Origins. I couldn't get into Dragon Age 2. I have no idea why. I'm just cursed to not like second games or something. I don't know what it is. It's this style game, and I can't play the second one. I don't know. Maybe I can't play Baldur's Gate 2. Watch. Like, I probably won't get into that one for whatever dumb reason. And then I played Fallout 1 and 2, which, you know what? You're right. I think I'm right. The second game, I don't like the second game because I have to admit Fallout 2 is my least favorite of the Fallout games. And if you talk to anybody who likes Fallout, most of them will be like, no, 2 is way better than 1. And I think it's true. It's 100% true for like Elder Scrolls. I haven't heard of anybody who really liked Arena just because Daggerfall just did everything better. What I don't like about Fallout 2 was actually it's a problem I have with that development studio. Kind of, I guess it's like I also had problems with how they did New Vegas. That's a video for another time. Like my mild complaints about Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 1 and 2, and that studio in particular. Like a lot of people argue, oh, like Bethesda ruined Fallout and they should have kept it with the original developers. I'm of the opinion of no, and that they would have run it to the ground because they didn't know what to do with it. But that's my opinion, and that's a completely different video for another time. I'm not gonna digress there. I'll digress. Anyways, back to Baldur's Gate 3. So far I'm really enjoying it. I think I might end up finishing it. It's not a sequel. It's not Baldur's Gate 2. That's why. Maybe that's why. Maybe the curse of twos won't affect me. So far, yeah, I'm pretty much enjoying it. My only issue with it right now is that I think my PC runs it too fast or something. And I was looking up, and people do have this issue where the maps load funny. Like there's a lot of map lag for whatever reason for this game. So sometimes I just have to kind of wait for it to load. You can actually see it in the first episode of the Let's Play that it's like everything's just weirdly laggy at times. Like things render funny. You can already see it on like the first area where the goblins are. You can see where it's like rendering funny. I don't know what that is. So yeah, I don't know. The reason why I point this out is because when the game came out, everybody kept making it seem like it was perfect. Like everything was perfect. The graphics are perfect. Look, Pokemon can't do it this good. Or like, oh, look at the Switch. They can't render it this well. Whatever. But the thing is, when people compare it to something like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, you have to realize when you're playing Breath of the Wild, and especially Tears of the Kingdom, there is no lag. Like I have gotten zero lag in that game, in Tears of the Kingdom. In Breath of the Wild, yeah, there's like the one area with the Great Deku Tree. That area lags because there's a lot of grass, and the game just doesn't render grass very well. But when we get to Tears of the Kingdom, this game runs like butter. I have never seen lag. I've never seen Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak. I have only seen that game lag when Gormagala is exploding in Sunbreak, or like Malzeno is exploding, and it has like 50 million particle effects. Like that's understandable. Very few games can render that, and on a Switch. And then we have Baldur's Gate 3 over here, which I think it's because they're not. It's the amount of memory. It's the amount of memory that it loads for the map. It seems like it loads the whole map. So if you ran around the entire map, it will lag your computer, which is why people who play for 5 hours, you'll start to see lag because it doesn't. See, the way that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did it, it renders the map in halves. So it's like you have the main area that you are in, and then next to it, they kind of semi-render it. And then the edges, they don't render it. So that way it saves on memory. Baldur's Gate seems to just render the whole thing, which I think is kind of a problem. That's definitely not a system thing. You can have a really strong system, but it will still have this problem because it's rendering, the memory is just too low. I mean, not too low. It's the opposite. The memory's too much. That it's like the computer, like everything, the game itself needs to render it. My computer can render it. It's the game that needs to catch up. It's like really annoying. So you end up having this problem where things don't render. That's kind of like my gripe about this game so far, is that I feel like that could have been fixed. Like they could have come up with a system to help it render the map better. Maybe it's the lack of experience. Larian is, they only have about 5 games under their belt or so, and like some of them, like a lot of them are just sequels. All of them are sequels. They make this style game. They're really good at it. But I think Baldur's Gate's engine was just, its maps are just too much. So that's kind of my comment there for that. Also, the game is very forgiving at times. Let's see. However, the game has so much. Okay, so this is like my positive. So far, I really like that there's so much stuff to this game. It does make you want to replay the game as like, oh, I'm playing it as a druid, so I want to play it as a bard now, or I want to do it as a paladin now, or I want to do it as like basically a totally different class. I'm really leaning towards bard because I do like utility. I wish there were slightly more options for not playing as a combat character. Excuse me. It could be wrong. It could be because there's a lot more non-combat, and I do like that they're trying really hard to do that. But there were a couple of times where I felt like, yeah, there's no choice, but I have to do combat because I didn't know. Obviously, a lot of it's like I didn't know ahead of time, but sometimes it did feel like it's just leading up to a fight, or the reasoning why you got away with sneaking into this area feels kind of like arbitrary in a way. you know, like, oh, it's just because you're a druid, now you can go in, or oh, just because you did this, then you can go in, and it feels so arbitrary at times. I'm glad that they gave you those options, but it also at times it feels a bit arbitrary. um, I do like the characters a lot, so all of your follower characters, now I can see why people really really like them. I kind of wish though that of the whole crew, I feel like Astarian's the only one who's like a utility character. Maybe Gale might be the second like quote unquote utility character, but that's because D&D in general doesn't always favor utility characters. I'm talking like characters like bards or rogues, where their whole thing is like sneaking around and convincing people, as opposed to like barbarians, where it's like, let's punch someone in the face. Like I kind of wish I had a little bit more of that, but that's because as a DM, I do like to run my games like that. I'm not a huge combat person, but D&D is so combat heavy as a system that you kind of have no choice. But what they've done so far is glorious. Like the number of options, just the number of everything is super cool. That's very difficult to get right in a game. People make it look easy, but it's not. It's nowhere near easy. It's very difficult. So any game that attempts to do that is impressive. I swear, I think I've only ever seen a small handful of games that were considered true. Your decisions actually make a difference. And most of them are very cursory rather than like detailed. I'm talking like Fallout, even New Vegas. That's more of a cursory kind of effect versus something like Witcher 3, where a lot of your choices make a lot of difference and you feel it. So they did a really impressive job of doing that, not only for like just the game itself, but for all the classes too, which is super cool. I think that dice system really helps it. That's what makes it really cool. I love the integration of the dice system. But yeah, I kind of wish that the characters do have a bit more utility options. But that's because, again, D&D, very combat heavy kind of game. Combat, like there's a lot of rules for combat and all that. Clunky rules, but still, you know, most of the, utility stuff is going to be more up to debate. But yeah, I do like the characters so far. I do find it funny that a lot of them are just so strong. Their backgrounds are so strong. So kind of like their backgrounds are very like, it's like, like Lazel, for example, is like, oh, I'm a powerful warrior. And then Karlach is like, I have an infernal engine for a heart. Which I thought it was so funny that Will's whole thing is that he's trying to slay her. And I'm like, dude, she's a barbarian. She has no brain cells. There's no way she's evil. And in the instant you meet her, it's like, yeah, no, there's no way. You're not evil. You're too dense to be evil. Which I think is so funny. And I think Will, I almost feel like in that half second, he's probably just like, oh yeah, I think I got this wrong. I'm glad that's got resolved so fast. But like each one, they have such a badass backstory. It's funny that they're level 1 when you get them. I'm glad that again the levels just cap up. But yeah, it's just really funny. That's the way I'm playing my character. I'm just making him as like he's a folk hero. He's like, I'm here to help people. I don't normally play it any other way than that. I have trouble playing evil characters anyways. I don't usually do that because I feel like when you do an evil route, it changes the game completely and everybody hates you and then you can't access certain things. Yes, as an evil side, you get to access other things, but it's always like, why do people like me though? Like why would this team side with me if I'm evil and I'm gonna clearly backstab them? It's like, come on, guys. Versus like if you're a good guy and then you do a bad thing, it's much more like sudden. That's just my opinion. Anyway, so that is I think if I were to do it, I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to not get a copyright ding or warning for streaming this game. I was hoping to kind of do it again with a different character. I kind of want to do a bard, or maybe I might do Dark Urge or something like that. It'd be really cool. I think it'd be cool also. Again, spoilers for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. If the Dark Urge was actually the same character, as that character. But, I don't know. Canonically, Dark Urge, I guess. I don't think so because they purposefully made Dark Urge a Dragonborn when there was no way for you to be a Dragonborn in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. So that's just a canonically it doesn't make sense. But it would be interesting if you're just like, I'll just say that it is, but whatever. Anyways, so that is it for this video. Unfortunately, sorry that I can't do more of Baldur's Gate 3. It sucks. And I'm just gonna keep playing without it. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and just keep an eye out whatever I decide to do next.